Hello, Uzair. I have been a fan of your work for a while now, especially your writings in Dawn and your recent series with Shahzad Ghias on the Pakistan experience. I find that quite insightful as well. And in one of your more recent episodes, both of you were discussing the threat of terrorism now emanating from Afghanistan. I just wanted to share with you my thoughts on this matter aligned with what you guys were talking about that what a shame it is that over 10 years since the APS massacre and 17 years 18 years since the Lal Masjid episode, we seem to be back where we started. All those operations, all those lives lost, including an uncle of mine serving in the army who was martyred in the tribal areas. So many lives lost and so much spent, so much effort made, and we seem to be back where we began. In fact, generally, I find Pakistan seems to be stuck in a Groundhog Day manner of time loop. We keep going back to where we were. It's a never ending cycle of deja vu. In fact, other commentators, Ishtaq Ahmed in the area of history and political history, he says the same thing. Khurram Hussain in the area of economics, he says the same thing, that we are going round and round in circles. And I think this then naturally leads to the conclusion that there is some core dysfunction which prevents ultimate progress. We make some tactical gains and then we come back to where we started. It's a series of two steps forward and then down the road, I would say two and a half steps back. In my informed opinion, you have to go back to the beginning, and there you find the core dysfunction, which leads also to what you two were discussing more recently, the whole Afghanistan debacle. We, our lords and masters, supported these leaders of current Afghanistan, protected them, saved them, because it is indeed a fact that if the Pakistani establishment had decided to actually cooperate with the Americans post 2001, the Taliban would have been eliminated sans sanctuary in Pakistan at that time when they were completely routed. They did not do that. Why? I think we know the answer, because for the Pakistani establishment, the Afghan who is trustworthy is the one who is a Muslim fundamentalist, in my view, because the Muslim fundamentalist is the one who will not see the Hindu as a greater friend than a fellow Muslim in Pakistan. And that is what it boils down to. That is why they protected them, because they always saw the Karzai Ghani dispensation as temporary, as something which would not last. And they were waiting them out from day one. Now, the idea that this was to a significant extent a self fulfilling prophecy, this was something which I don't believe was ever considered in GHQ. Because even if the counter would be that, well, why should the Pakistanis serve American interests? I would respond with the explanation that very definitely we should not serve Pakistani American interests, we should serve Pakistani interests. But what is Pakistani interest? In my opinion, it really should be the welfare of Pakistanis. The strength of Pakistan ultimately derives from that of any nation. So, if that is the objective, why would we want in our immediate neighborhood, the neighbor with the longest border we share, to be led by Muslim extremists who have already in the 90s proven themselves to be inimical to modern ideas of the state, who were not very cooperative, frankly, even back then. So, why would we want them back in power? Well, again, because if the only thing that our lords and masters can see is the Indian threat, then it makes sense. Because on the other hand, if that was not the case, then a decision could have been made also to actually support the Americans in eliminating the Taliban. And in exchange from the internationally recognized Afghan government, we could have obtained recognition of the so called Durand Line, which is the historical problem, of course, with our Western neighbor. And that would have been a real gain for Pakistan's future, for Pakistan's stability in the region, and that would have led also to better relations with Central Asia, with access to Central Asia and its enormous energy resources, and the access that we would have provided to the ocean for them would have resulted in a lot of economic gain for us. But again, all of this opportunity was lost because of the Indian obsession.